Today, we count down the top 10 most valuable and historically important comics from DC Comics of the year 1966. This top 10 is ranked based on their high Overstreet annual price guide prices for near mint copies. And to make the top 10, a comic now has to be worth over $500. Starting with number 10, Adventure Comics 346. This key book has the first appearance of Karate Kid, Princess Protectra, Pharaoh Lad, and Nemesis Kid. And the story was written by teenage author Jim Shooter. The cover is by Kurt Swan. This is one of those classic checker box covers that took over all of DC's covers in late 1966. This comic ranks 10th of the year and 139th most valuable DC comic of the entire decade of the 60s. Print runs for DC were high at this time. Print run estimated at 481,000 copies of this book. It does feature Karate Kid, who would go on to become a very important character in the DC universe. However, on the CGC census, very few copies graded of this book, only 103 copies in all grades combined, and there are only 2 super high grade copies. Heritage Auctions has only sold 10 copies since the year 2000. But this book has shown some tremendous growth in the Overstreet Annual Price Guide over the last decade. The book has more than doubled in low grades, and it has tripled in high grades. It's now a $525 book. The highest graded copies are the 2 at 9.6, and there are 6 graded 9.4, showing how hard these are to find at the top grades on the CGC census. Ranking number 9 of the year is Batman 179. Many key Batman issues in the 60s, but this one happens to feature the second Silver Age appearance of the Riddler. We've got Gil Kane and Murphy Anderson cover art, Sheldon Moldoff and Joe Giella working on the interior art. The print run on this book was extremely high. The Batman TV show debuted on TV this year, and it was a phenomenon. It was so massive that they even aired new episodes 2 times a week, which was so unusual. Print run estimated at 900,000 copies for this issue, making it one of the most common highly printed superhero comics of the entire 1960s. Ranks number 9 of the year, 135 of the decade. There are only 194 copies graded by CGC, and only 5 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold 21 copies, which works out to only 1 copy a year. Another checker box cover here. In the Overstreet Price Guide, nice steady growth, and it continues to move up. Still quite affordable, though. It's a $575 book in high grade raw. On the census, there are 5 9.6s and 4 9.4s. Ranking number 8 is Showcase number 60. This key cover is the first Silver Age appearance of the Spectre, and it's the first solo appearance of a revived Golden Age character without having a new Silver Age character version. Murphy Anderson is the cover artist, ranks 8th of the year and 138th of the decade. Print run estimated at 250,000 copies. Lots of demand for this book. The CGC census now up to 618 copies, including 24 9.6s or higher. 115 copies sold at Heritage Auctions. Slow growth overall in the Overstreet Annual Price Guide. You can see that it was stalled for a number of years. It's just slowly starting to make its way back up. But basically in the last decade, you haven't made much money on this book if it's in lower grades. It's now sneaking up to $625. There are 5 9.8s and 19 9.6s. Ranking number 7. Wonder Woman 160. This is the first appearance of the Silver Age Cheetah. We have Ross Andrew and Mike Esposito cover art. Number 7 of the year, 126 of the decade. Only 186 copies graded by CGC, and only 2 9.6s or higher. Heritage has only sold 19. Purple background cover. Overstreet Price Guide. This book is definitely considered undervalued, and it's been jumping faster and faster year by year. And it's definitely in the last decade more than doubled in lower grades and really starting to move in higher grades, having a huge jump in 2021. It's now a $750 book. There is 1 9.8 and 1 9.6. Number 6 is Our Army at War, 168. It's rare for war titles to make our list, but it happens once in a while. This key issue features the first appearance of the Unknown Soldier with cover art by Joe Kubert, interior art by Kubert and Jack Abel. We have a Sergeant Rock cover story and appearance, another checker box cover, number 6 of the year, 127 of the decade. Print run estimated at 243,000 copies. Again, very few copies on the census, 92 in all grades. Only 2 9.6s or higher. Heritage has only sold 13 copies ever of this book. Black background cover. Overstreet Price Guide continues to move up. In the last 7 years alone, the book has doubled in lowest grades and it's more than doubled in high grades. On the census, there is one 9.8 and one 9.6. Next on our list, in 5th place, we have Superman's Girlfriend, Lois Lane, issue number 70, featuring the first Silver Age appearance of Catwoman. And this is one of the most valuable series issues of this title that ran for over 15 years. This issue also features appearances by the Penguin, Batman, and Robin. Cover and interior art by Kurt Schaffenberger. Another checker box DC cover, ranking 5th of the year, 125th of the decade. Print run estimated at 530,000 copies. This one definitely growing on the CG census quickly. Now there's 849 copies, 13 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold 60 of this white background cover comic. In the Overstreet Price Guide, slow but steady growth every year. And you can see in the last decade, the book's gone up about 50%. And that's also true for higher grades, but it's starting to speed up a little bit year by year. Now an $800 book. There is one 9.8 in existence and 12 9.6s. Ranking number 4 is Strange Adventures 187, the origin and first appearance of the Enchantress. We have a Jack Sparling cover. Print run estimated 175,000 copies, ranks high at number 4 of the year and 118th of the decade. We have another checker box cover, 118 copies graded, but only one super high grade copy. And Heritage has only sold 11 of this big tooth cover. In the Overstreet Price Guide, slow but steady growth year by year. Not a lot of movement. It's now an $875 book. There is one 9.8 and 4 9.2s. Not very many at the high end there. Ranking number 3. This has been a major key issue in the last few years. Aquaman number 29, featuring his stepbrother, the villain Ocean Master, in his first appearance. Nick Cardy, cover and interior art. Number 3 of the year, 100th most valuable of the decade. Print run estimated at 228,000 copies. Really skyrocketing on the CGC census now with 517 copies, 13 super high grade copies, Heritage 54 copies, a checker box cover. In the Overstreet Price Guide, this book has gone crazy in the last decade. This book has gone up more than 5 times its price in lower grades in just the last 7 years alone. And the book has gone up about 9 times in high grades. And this is all due to the speculation and driving up the prices when the Aquaman movie was announced and came out. And on the census, there are 4 9.8s and 9 9.6s. Number 2 of the year, we rarely see number 1s, but here we got one. Teen Titans number 1. The team gets their first ongoing title with their own name. And we've got cameo appearances by Batman, Flash, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman in this issue. Nick Cardy cover and story art. There is a CGC 9.8 curator pedigree copy out there. This book ranks number 2 of the year, 99 of the decade. There are 711 copies graded by CGC, only 12 9.6 or higher. Heritage has sold 21. We have a white background cover. We've got the whole gang on the cover in action poses. In the Overstreet Price Guide, we have slow but steady growth year by year. Not huge profits, but sneaking up there. Now a $1,050 book. And on the census, we have 4 9.8s and 8 9.6s. And that brings us up to the most important and valuable DC comic of 1966, It is Batman 181, the first appearance of Poison Ivy, Pamela Lillian Isley. We've got cover and centerfold pinups by Carmen Infantino and Murphy Anderson. We've got Sheldon Moldoff, Joe Giel, and Sid Green interior art. This book has a very high print run due to this coming out at the time of the popularity of the Batman show. Print run estimated as high as 900,000 copies. It ranks #1 of the year and 31 of the decade. On the census, it's really growing fast. 2,200 copies graded, but only 11 9.6 or higher. Heritage has sold a whopping 138 copies of this red background checker box cover. In the Overstreet Price Guide, prices are crazy skyrocketing in the last 3 years alone. But you can see in the last decade, if you had this copy, this book has almost gone up 5 times in low grade. And in high grade, the book has gone up about 5 times. It's now $3,800, ranking #1 of the year. There are 3 9.8s, 21 9.4s, and yes, there's a rare Danish edition that came out in 1967, but no super high grade copies of that book. Now let's compare the top 10 books on the CGC census for rarity and supply. Batman 181 is by far the most common book on the census, followed by Lois Lane at 849 and Showcase 60 with 618. But it's amazing how the numbers start dropping. Teen Titans 1 also had 711, but then we dropped really low. The War book, Our Army at War, of course, is the lowest as expected, fewer war collectors. But Adventure Comics 346 is also very low with only 103 copies. Not every book on this list has a 9.8, surprisingly. You would think there'd be enough copies out there, but Adventure Comics 346 and Batman 179 do not have a 9.8 at all. And Strange Adventures 187 does have a 9.8, but it has no 9.6s or 9.4s, making it the toughest one to find in super high grade on this list. There you go, the top 10 DC Comics of 1966. This series continues every week. Please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.